What is the highest price that Bitcoin could be reaching within the next 365 days? That is the topic of today's video as we analyze what history says to be expectant of the next years of price action, as we have seen a major setup fire off for Bitcoin, and that is the weekly silver cross. So without further ado, I want to once again welcome you back to the Krown Crypto channel. It is a lovely Monday morning. It's June 3rd. No, it's July 4th. It's July 3rd, almost the 4th of July, which means that it's time to have a sale because we need to celebrate Independence Day for the Americans. And that means this sale is only applicable for the Americans. No Europoers allowed, no people from other nations or anything like that. And just terrible jokes to be making right now, which I apologize for. But seriously, Americans only. We're going to go by the honor rule for this one. And of course, if you're interested in one of the programs or products that you can find in the Krown trading application, then I would humbly request that you do watch the promotional videos on the story here. They're going to explain who they're for, who they're not for, what to essentially expect, and then you can make an educated decision for yourself if that's relevant for your life. All right, sweet. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's jump right into the topic of today, and that is the weekly silver cross, which actually happened a couple weeks ago here, late July, and it is this, the yellow 21 exponential moving average crossed the upside of the green 55 exponential moving average. And throughout the full history of Bitcoin, there has been 4 prior of these iterations. So not a whole hell of a lot, but it has meant a whole hell of a lot as Bitcoin has gone on for some pretty astronomical gains in the past. In several cases, it's just gone on for like multiple thousands of percents move before the next macro high. But that's not the topic of today's video because one, I think that would just, fuck around with the data too much and not really be all that helpful, to be quite frank with you. And then two, what I did want to do is I wanted to just measure out what was the highest price that Bitcoin got after the cross happened within the next year. So the next 365 days. So we're gonna be measuring again, one, the next highest price, and then two, the amount of days that it took within the context of that first year. So if we go over to our data here, we can see that again, there's been 4 prior iterations. Of those 4, 3 have led on to major trending moves. One of them I would consider a trap. That was this one right here, where Bitcoin bottomed out in 2018, 2019, went on for this rally from 3,000 to 14,000. While it did have the cross right here and did lead up to, this should actually be right here. It did lead up to this high right here, did eventually fail and actually even come a little bit lower than where that cross did initially occur. But going back into it, I would consider that a trap. Even with that, however, that was nearly a 60% move to put things into context. So I would argue pretty damn impressive. All of the other ones, significantly more. I guess the next best one would be like 82%, but still pretty damn high, at least by my own definitions. The amount of time taken for the next major high was on average 169 days almost. With the first one actually almost taking the full 365 days, to be fair. And if we go by the average return and we don't, eliminate any outliers, about 244%. Now, I would say that this most recent one here is an outlier, so I'd get rid of that one. That brings us down to about 110%. Again, even within the context of that, like the first one, was nearly 200%. But even on the worst one, almost 60%. I would argue is worth knowing because even in the conditions of what I would consider a failure, long term, that was a pretty impressive move. To put that into context, if Bitcoin were to go nearly 60% from where that cross happened in this most recent iteration, it would put Bitcoin above $40,000, very close to that 618 Fibonacci retracement right here, as you can see. So, something to be aware of, perhaps, as even on the lower end, that would not be. It wouldn't be like too crazy to say, and this is also within the context of all the other pieces of data that we've been looking at on the very, very high term timeframes. But on this particular one, yeah, I certainly don't think that that's out of the question. Within the next year, could Bitcoin go higher than that? Again, if we were to go off the data over here, it would suggest yes. I would still be a little bit, wary to say or suggest such things. But just for shits and giggles, what would Bitcoin look like if it put on a 100% rally from that number? It actually put it right around the 786 fib right here, which I think is maybe one of Fiboswani's more aggressive targets. We'll actually have him back on relatively soon. I think he's kind of waiting for the next major update, as very little has actually happened since we last spoke, actually. But yeah. So far so good, within the next year. And so that would be, between basically June 2023 to June of 2024. So again, just another thing that does suggest that pullbacks on these higher term timeframes are still likely to be higher lows, especially as long as as long as the weekly is closing above the 21 here, which gives it quite a bit of leeway. So there will be pullbacks obviously along the way. We've seen several of them thus far, but pullbacks likely lead into higher lows, and continuation is the name of the game, especially as long as Bitcoin is above that particular moving average. And even then, you still got the 55 below it, which would be kind of like the last chance for love. Anyways, what I would say is that this particular iteration that we do see here is maybe less likely to be a trap, for one particular reason, and it is this: the weekly BBWP representing volatility, aka the dispersion of returns, is expanding off of some of the lowest levels that it's ever seen ever for the longest time ever. The only time that's been comparable to this was November of 2018, when Bitcoin got ready for about a 50% dump bola from 6,000 to 3,000. In this case, a little bit more angle to the upside, especially with hidden bullish evidence of 3 drives variety being confirmed a couple weeks ago as well, and even the weekly Joule also having positive curvature, plus the cyan populating for this current tick, and the DMI still being green as support. So I'd be looking at these as generally good things. When we've seen low volatility in the past alongside that cross happening, those have been typically the trending moves, to be fair, especially if you go over here to the HPDRV, which is just another volatility based indicator, similar to the BBWP but different calculation. This one is showing some of like the lowest level, I do believe, on a weekly, and expanding from there. Generally speaking, a good sign for a trending move emerging from this region. Yes, so we've gotten through the higher term time frames. Let's go into something that's comparably a lot lower term time frame. That would be the 4 hour over here. It's really not a whole hell of a lot that's changed, to be fair. Very, very similar things to the last time that we spoke. Bottom side of the current range is now moved up to about 29.6. Top side of the current range moved around to about 31.3 or so. 4 hour closures above or below those ranges likely to lead towards continuation. To the downside, if it does break, I'd probably be looking for another move somewhere between like 28.6 to 29,000 bucks. If it does break to the upside, again above 31.3, I'd be looking for a move somewhere around 32.5. Probably a little bit of a break there, and then continuation is the name of the game after that. Move probably coming a little bit later this week if I had to guess. 4 hour BWP starting to really level off on the ground there, but I expect that I'd probably spend some time on the ground there as well. If we go ahead and reference stochastic momentum, starting off with the hourly, we're going to get a lot of like conflicting reads here. I already know it. Hourly is going to show upside momentum as long as Bitcoin's above 30,955, currently trading $5 below there. It's just not helpful. 4 hour time frame is going to be turning up above 30,620. Currently trading about $300 above there, but not like super interesting, at least in my opinion. 6 hour time frame turns up above 31,400 for now, down. 12 hour time frame is also gonna be downside angled below 30,100, and daily is gonna be showing upside above 30,650. So not really getting too much from this. What does that equate to? Probably a bit more sideways and resolution later this week. So I expect that we do have some more waiting to go, actually, which is maybe not what you want to hear, but boringness, again, still more or less does favor the boo laws. And hey, if it does break the current range lows, I'd be looking for a pullback somewhere between 28.6 to 29,000 and probably bounce there. And then continuation still the name of the game. Especially as long as Bitcoin's above like 28.5. I mean, I don't really have any major reason to be changed around the higher term time frame analysis. The lower term time frames are more or less the ones that are just kind of taking their time, I suppose. Anyways, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this particular video. A little bit more on the short and sweeter side, hopefully, and digestible as well. Yeah, as always, wish you the best of best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.